Greetings and welcome back to yet another daily run, and today we are playing as Isaac. And Isaac is just one of those characters that I don't really like to see in a daily run, because it means that, even though everyone plays technically the same run, everyone is gonna have a vastly different experience. Someone is gonna say, oh, my run sucked and I couldn't do anything, and someone's gonna say, what are you talking about? Just reroll Mom's Knife on the 3rd floor and you're gonna get a quadruple brimstone in boss rush or whatever. And that's not something I think that facilitates like what a good play is or strategy. But at the same time, it's also fun to play as a character in a way that kind of creates his own luck. You always, when you play Isaac, you know that you're not gonna have a bad run, because you can reroll bad items, and eventually you're gonna get a good one. And like especially after a bad daily, it's just fun to kind of go back to the basics. No random shenanigans with Eden, with random shot speeds, but just something that we're all used to and we can do well on. And I like that. I like how this run turned out in the end, because there were some fun, I guess, decisions at the same time, but also some really powerful items that kind of made it possible to do. Our first item room contained the Dance Cap, or the Whiz, I think. It's an item that makes you shoot diagonally. It kind of gives you double shot and also spectral tears, but at the same time, you shoot diagonally. So overall, if you're not used to the item, it's usually not a good idea to pick it up, because it's gonna be a bigger detriment than not, even though it's an objectively good item. Maybe not objectively, but you can make a case for it where you can say that it's a good item. But I think the problem with these items that kind of really change the way you play the game is that you get them like maybe once every 20 runs, or maybe even less. And there's no time to get used to them, because why would you risk your 1 out of 20 runs to just learn how to be proficient with an item? It's not something that's, I think, very smart to do. So it's just better off to just leave it and not pick it up and not kind of have to bother with it. Or, if you're Isaac, just reroll it and hope to get something better. And in this case we did get Pyromaniac, which is an item that makes you immune to explosions and even some attacks that are coded as explosions, even though they aren't technically explosions. But like Mom's Foot Stomping is coded as an explosion, and that doesn't damage you if you have Pyromaniac or the Host Hat, which both, like I said, make you invincible to bomb explosions. I wish we had this on the runs where we kind of explode, but sometimes Pyromania comes in a good time, sometimes it comes in a bad time, just like anything in Isaac. Thankfully, we're fighting Pin here, which is not too big of a deal, and we don't really have to stretch it too much. My general strategy is just stay near the bottom and just kind of go left and right whenever he comes out, because when you're at the bottom, he's always coming from one direction, from the top, and which means that it's not hard to dodge him at all, because you only have one dimension to dodge him in. But if you're just running around the room, he can actually get you pretty nastily sometimes. We roll a little mistake I did, because usually on the first floor you only get one reroll, because the floor is small. You can't visit 6 rooms to gain 6 charges to use your D6 again. But what ends up happening is, in this case, the floor actually had 2 big rooms, and each big room gives you 2 charges. So if I actually paid a bit more attention, I would be able to get 2 rerolls. But thankfully we did get a 48-hour energy pill, which gives us 2 charges outright, and thankfully the items were so good we didn't even have to reroll. So I think I would say D6 is always the best when you don't have to use it, because that means you're getting very good items on their own, and D6 is like a good luck charm in some cases, and in some cases, of course, it's very helpful. You can see in this case, okay, we killed the boss, we don't take red heart damage, which is great, we just get brimstone. And that's just so important why you really don't want to take that red heart damage, because we didn't have a spirit heart for the majority of this floor. I want to get it on I think the last room, or maybe the 2 rooms before the boss. And sometimes someone might have gotten hit because they visited other rooms in different order, or just weren't paying attention and maybe walked into a fire or something, and that kind of lost them the devil deal, which in turn means they didn't get brimstone, and which means that their run looks vastly different to ours. Because at this point, even though we took 7 minutes to finish the 2 starting floors, we are now in a situation where we can say, okay, now this run is one of those runs that's gonna be really, really super easy. And at this point, our focus shifts not from like getting items to survive, but just increasing our points in the any way possible. That means, you know, visiting more rooms, wasting bombs or using bombs to fight secret rooms, and we also need to find a way to increase our consumable or swag bonus. And I think the best way to do that is to visit shops, because shops have those items that kind of give you utility more so than anything else. And like I said, I think the shops are the key here, you know, because what happens if we get another super strong item, you know, we just deal more damage, which is not a bad thing, of course, but that's not something that's gonna put us at the top of the leaderboards. I think what's gonna put us at the top of the leaderboards is really going hard for those good shop items that will give us, you know, a lot of consumables. And because we do have that ability to reroll items that are maybe not as good, and especially with some battery charges, you know, we can really do some work. Because the item room, well, the shop item pool, that's what I want to say, is rather small, and if you have enough rerolls, and, you know, there are 2 or 3 items in it, we can do a lot of work with that. You know, we can practically, you know, with enough rerolls, we can practically force any item we want to see. And that's kind of my strategy going in forward from this point. You know, we only have 2 shops remaining, and I really don't want to go hard on them, even though we don't maybe they have that much money. Sadly, this floor contained grid, which is not the best, but at least, you know, I can say it gave us some coins that we can use maybe on the next shop. But the next shop is very vital and crucial to our success, I think, because it will kind of define, will we have a way to generate a lot of consumables and keys and coins or whatever, or will we just, you know, be a super strong guy with blood lasers coming out from our mouth. Thankfully, Guppy's Tail is a step in the right direction, because it does give us more golden chests, and golden chests of course contain more consumables, and just overall cards that maybe you can use to duplicate our coins, bombs or whatever. But I did pick Maw of the Void because with Brimstone we do have the advantage of shooting through the whole map, and with Maw of the Void we would be forced, well, not forced I guess, but we would be incentivized to go nearer the enemies, and then we use that. I guess the dynamic of how we use the items change, and that's why I didn't pick it up. And at the same time, I really wanted 2 hearts to kind of have maybe use on a Devil Deal or on a Blood Bank. What I said before, you know, my strategy paid out. We rolled our shop like a few times, and because there were 2 items in it, and I think we saw 6 or 8 items in total, and that allowed us to get Sackboy. And Sackboy is just one of those items that you're really happy to see, especially with a D6, because Sackboy, not only does it give you a chance to get more consumables, cards, you know, 2 of every card, or maybe Joker cards, or even Chaos cards, which you can use to kill Hush. But it also gives you a ton of battery charges, and with this with the D6 and the Goat Head, we can do really some really nice things with the Devil Deals or shops, maybe on the Hush. Because we, like I said, we will get those battery charges that we can then use to reroll our items, and, you know, really dig for those items that will benefit us in the long run. Here, the boss charge contains triple shot, the inner eye, and I picked it up, even though it's maybe not the best combination because it takes ages to charge up every one shot. But when you do unleash the shot, of course you deal triple damage. I think on average it's a good idea to do it, but at the same time you lose kind of that utility that you have with shorter charge times, where you can kind of control your Brimstone a little bit better. With this, you know, you just charge for a few seconds, and then you're at the mercy of the enemy to kind of stay in that general direction, you know. And some enemies obviously teleport or go underground, and that's annoying to deal with. But at the same time, you know, it's a fun synergy. It's very fun to look at. So if there's any reason to pick that combo up, it's probably that one. Another thing we also picked up on this floor is Death's Touch, which would, in normal circumstances, gives us sights and penetrative shots. But because we have Brimstone, it actually can't do any of that, and it just gives us a damage up. And the great thing with damage ups and Brimstone is that any damage up is actually kind of more potent on the Brimstone, because Brimstone actually hits a few times, like 13, I'm not exactly sure, but let's just say for the sake of argument, it actually has 13 fast ticks that kind of happen when you hit an enemy. So, you know, if the enemy stays in those 13 ticks of damage for the whole time, that they're gonna get the full amount of damage. But if they just stay in for like a few ticks, you know, they're gonna get halved. But every damage up you take will increase every ticks damage you take, so essentially you're kind of taking a damage up that is not only a damage up for one shot, but like I said, you know, the damage is more potent if the enemies stay in your beam longer. So that means that one damage up is actually like a 13 damage up if you use it well, and that's why I chose to trade out my red hearts that I saved on the previous floor for the Death's Touch, which is just a combination of which didn't give us any benefit except the damage up, but because, like I said, damage up is so much more potent on Brimstone, that's why I took it. Maybe that was a bit of a convoluted way of explaining it, but I hope you get the gist of it. Previous floor, you saw me, you know, because we have Goat Head, we can return to our Boss Rush, well, Devil Deal, and we can do some fancy things. Because that Devil Deal had 3 items, we were able to reroll it twice. You know, we would be able to do it more times, but because I was kind of in a hurry here, I didn't even explore this floor fully, which is a little bit of a mistake in the end. Because I don't get the full exploration bonus, which we totally could have, especially with Guppy that we managed to pick up somewhere along the way, and Triple Brimstone. And now, you know, things are just looking up for us, because not only, like I said, do we have Guppy and Triple Brimstone, we actually managed to find a blank card in our shop. And with the Yara Rune, or the Jera Rune, however you like to call it, we're now able to basically have infinite consumables, and that means that we can achieve the maximum amount of points we can actually achieve with within the borders of the game, you know. Like I said, I don't know if I've ever talked about it, but basically when you pick up coins, first of all, not the coins but consumables in general, first of all, the score you get is you get the score for getting 99 of every consumable, and after that it doesn't matter which consumable you pick up, but it just adds up to your score until a certain point. At a certain point, then it's kind of like a logarithmic scale, which means that every coin or consumable you pick up after you have 99 of each is gonna give you progressively less and less points, and at some point they're not gonna give you any points at all, and that's, you know, the time we stop. But at the same time, you know, we can get like 5,000 or maybe even more points in general of just consumables. So that's definitely something we want to do, and with Blank Card and Yara Rune, that's you know, that's the plan, obviously. It's kind of funny how everything in this run worked out. Like, I think I played well just in general, because I didn't get hit much. I think I got hit like 4 or 5 times on the whole run, which is very, very optimal, or very good for me, because, you know, I'm the kind of person to take a lot of damage. But what I didn't like is that, you know, I missed some floor and some exploration bonuses that maybe sometimes that maybe I shouldn't have, because I did have this super strong combo. But, you know, what can you do? Sometimes, you know. But just like I said, overall, I think this is a very strong run. Everything went kind of well for us. We got the Blank Card, the Jera, and the Brimstone, and the Triple Shot, and the Guppy, and just all these great things that we will really use to our advantage. I just want to talk about how to use Yara effectively to kind of get a lot of points and not waste a bunch of time. First of all, you want to isolate your battery. Like in this case, you know, we got a room with a battery and a card, but thankfully we can move the card out of it, and then we can start duplicating the batteries. And there's a little trick. If you walk over the battery, and as you're picking it up, you kind of duplicate it, what ends up happening is that you'll both get the charge and duplicate the battery. So that means that with only 2 batteries, you're able to duplicate infinite batteries. And that's what you want to do. You want to have one room that's just going to have batteries in it. If there's any other consumable you can pick up, like, you know, Spirit Hearts or Red Hearts, just try to abandon that room, you know, don't bother with it. It's not that big of a problem with if you have batteries, because, like I said, picking up batteries just gives you charges. But what's gonna end up happening if you have any form of consumables, like I said, hearts that you can pick up, things are gonna get very... it's gonna be hard to navigate, because, like I said, you will have those consumables you can pick up, and just due to nature of duplication, eventually red hearts are gonna take over, and that's gonna leave you in a kind of annoying spot. Another part, what you want to do is find a room that only has regular consumables in it, the ones that you can pick up indefinitely. That means, you know, coins, keys, or bombs. And I have 2 of those rooms here. One of them is actually pretty far up, and that's not my ideal duplication spot, but I'm just doing it to get to 99 bombs. Because, like I said, you get score up to 99 of every consumable, and then you get bonus consumable points for every thing you pick up. But here you can see that we have one room with just a penny, then it's right next to the battery room. And what you want to do is kind of duplicate until you see that some coins start despawning, because there's a limit in the room as to how many consumables it is. It's not worth it to go back and forward 100 times, because they are gonna get despawned eventually. Just, you know, use it a few times, and when you see that coins start disappearing, then you can go and pick it up and then repeat the whole process. And with that said, we actually managed to rank in second with 53,000 points on a dun that only goes to Satan. It's very good. We did both Hush, both Boss Rush, we got a lot of Shrek points, and our damage penalty wasn't very high. So all of that kind of culminated in a very good run. At the time I was playing, I was actually first. If you kind of discard the cheaters, there was one guy with 70,000 points, but obviously that's not possible. But when I checked later, there was one person that had like 100 points more. So yeah, at this point we were second, and you know, that's really good. You know, I'm really happy that we were able to get to this point, even through some of the slumps we had lately. But yeah, with that said, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you next time.